Ms. King, members of the public to speak?
Yes. Good afternoon. We have 7 members of the public registered to speak today. We have 3 in person, 4 remote. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers please adhere to the MTA rules of conduct and decorum. I would also like to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. The first speaker is Omar Vera, followed by Lisa Daglian.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the September edition of your meeting. Now, I'm looking forward to when eventually Omni will have the unlimited options for their cards, 7-day, 30-day unlimited options for the Omni card. That's what I'm waiting for. Even though we already have we can use our own devices for that. Still waiting for when the plastic card finally gets active for unlimited fares. And yes, and also this is a topic I've repeated a number of times in the past. Find a way to extend the C train to Lefferts Boulevard and have all A service the Rockaways. That's all I have to say for this month, and see you around.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lisa Daglian, followed by Jason Anthony.
Good afternoon. I am Lisa Daglian, Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA PCAC. Congratulations on the good capital plan you released last week. We wish we could congratulate you on a great plan. The greatest city in the world deserves no less. It's critically important to keep things in the state of good repair. That's job one, to get riders where they need to go safely, reliably, and on time. It isn't sexy, but it's essential to keep our vital transit system and riders rolling. $68.5 billion is a good investment. The elephant in the room is where that money's going to come from. A good investment could become great with the addition of what we don't see in the plan. New fare gates at all stations, more structural work in station rehabs across the system, making the Long Island Railroad 100% accessible and bringing elevators to more subway stations. Come on, Metzville, let's point. Fulfilling the promise of increasing electric bus purchases, adding resiliency and station work for Metro North, and adding to the Long Island Railroad's double-decker fleet as we wait for the opportunity of electrification. J.P. Morgan, CBC, and the state controller all estimate it would take about $100 billion to get it done. That's an extraordinary number, but we don't have an ordinary system or your average riders. It's hard to aim high when there are so many questions about how to fill the $16.5 billion hole in the current plan, created by Governor Hochul when she paused congestion pricing. We just don't have the same faith that you do. Today's a gridlock alert day and the start of climate week, yet here we are with heinous traffic, adding to poor air quality and a growing gap between capital needs and resources. Only Governor Hochul can fix this problem. We urge her to unpause the pause. We're committed to working with you to help fill the funding hole in the new plan, even as we fight for congestion pricing and the essential benefits it will bring. Thank you, and let's go Mets.
Thank you. Next speaker, Jason Anthony, followed by Charlton D'Souza.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jason Anthony from the Long Island Railroad ADA Task Force. Last week, we received a good capital plan. We have an ADA accessible station to go to the Yankees game, but it's good news that we will get ADA accessible station to go to see the Mets game. So let's go the Yankees and the Mets, because I support both teams. So on Friday, I was fortunate to be on the groundbreaking ceremony at Babylon, along with our great Long Island Railroad President Rod Free and CND President Jamie Torres Springer. Yes, we know that there's a lot of work to done, but we need to let know our elected officials at Albany, those especially in upstate, that we need their support. And we need to know our beloved governor, Kathleen Hochul Courtney, that congestion pricing needs to go into effect because congestion pricing needs to be on pause because those here in downstate are suffering the consequential effects of the pause because people like me cannot hear any more noises and keep getting sick of asthma and more things getting delayed, getting stuck on traffic on Fifth Avenue, Madison Avenue, on the Verrazano Bridge on Fifth Avenue, etc. So let's get it running.
Thank you. Charlton D'Souza is not here. We are moving to Maddie Bucky's Highland. Following Maddie is Christopher Greif.
Thank you, Miss King, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Matty W. Bucky's Highland. For today, I want to speak about the capital projects. Well, there are some good things about it. It is necessary to keep up with the accessibility. One thing I'm disappointed about is about the Staten Island Railroad expanding from Tottenville to Perth Amboy or to South Amboy. On the Outer Bridge crossing, because some people do take New Jersey Transit, they live in Staten Island, take up to Penn Station. It costs a minimum of $13.38 directly going to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Second of all, that really should be considered one time as a thing with the help of members of Congress such as Nicole Malliotakis and Frank Pallone Jr. Anyway, I think that this is a good thing to do, expanding the railway to the Amboys rather than that. With that being said, everybody, I'm ready for a nap, and I'll turn back over to Miss King so she can introduce Mr. Accessibility himself, Christopher D. Greif. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Christopher Greif, followed by Andy Pollock.
Good afternoon, everyone. Christopher D. Greif. As a lot of you, as I looked at the book, and I have to say, it's nice to see more accessibility, especially on the railroads that we're seeing that Meswell's Point will get inaccessible, but we need the 7 train to get there as well. Sooner or later, we got to get more accessible on these services between the trains, the buses, and continue advocating. As you see my graphics, things that we were accomplishing for accessibility. For 5 years, we've been advocating. And we still will continue advocating for accessibility, updating our buses and trains, but we need the congestion pricing. So I'm encouraging our elected officials, stop putting your prides together. Let's work together. Let's move forward. If we're going to talk about backward stuff, that's not going to solve everything. We also need the funding for the MTA police so we have more officers at our stations and cameras as well. We need to make sure that we move forward, and we got to be clear because the safety is a very important to all our people with disabilities, seniors, as well as our veterans. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Next speaker is Andy Pollock, and Charlton D'Souza is now available, and he will be our last speaker.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
We hear you.
Hello?
We hear you.
Can you restart my 2 minutes? Thank you, because I was delayed. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Andy Pollock here. Sorry for the issue. My 5G was having problems. So let's talk about the capital program. Yes, this is going to last until 2030. Now, I am in agreement. We need to start electrifying the Long Island Railroad, particularly the Greenport branch particularly the central branch goes between Page and Babylon, and we need to electrify all the way out east to Montauk. So it's time we start doing that. Also, it is time to start getting rid of the aging M3 fleet that has been around since 1985. Those trains are long past their revenue service. It's time for the M9As to come in like we were originally promised. And it is also time to start getting rid of aging subway cars that don't have air conditioning in them in the hot summer months. This capital program does address the need for that. And also elevators. You got to talk about elevators. Ooh, well. The 7th Avenue elevator on the BD and E line never got installed. So can we finally get that done for a change? So yes, again, there's a lot of important needs that have to get done. And one more thing about the elevators. Let's hope that Hollis and Forest Hills can get done. And one more thing before I conclude my remarks. I'm glad Floral Park was mentioned in this report. Floral Park desperately needs work. The platform needs to get redone, and there needs to be a lot of safety improvements also done at the Floral Park station. So with that, thank you for letting me speak.
Our final speaker is Charlton D'Souza.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza. I'm the president of Passengers United. So here's the thing. You guys have been saying that fare evasion is out of control in the MTA, which is true. However, why is it that the MetroCard vending machines and the brand new Omni machines are not working? On Friday night, I visited close to about 10 stations and we did an audit. And in every station, there was 1 or 2 machines not working. That is unacceptable. And so what's infuriating New Yorkers is when they go to pay their fare and they want to do the right thing, the machine is broken. But on the other side of the turnstiles, there's a police officer there. So bad service, no buses showing up, people left stranded in Staten Island, fights are breaking out throughout the city because people are waiting for buses literally 35 to 40 minutes. Then they come in the subway station and the MetroCard vending machines are not working or the trains are delayed. You guys have to work this out. Every station, there should be a machine working. So like this, a New Yorker cannot say, I couldn't pay the fare. And y'all need to work on that because we're getting a lot of complaints. And also what I want to know are the property protection agents who do the fare enforcement in New York City Transit. Why is it that they don't have body cameras? I think they should have body cameras. We got a complaint from a parent whose daughter was taken off the bus. She actually had paid a fare and they wanted to check her Omni card, but they couldn't read the Omni card. We're getting a lot of complaints about this. So again, this needs to be cracked down. And the reason why I bring this up at the capital program meeting is because I understand capital programs is now in charge of the Omni machines and the MetroCard vending machines. Thank you so much.
Mr. D'Souza, did you submit, can you please submit a list of the stations that you visit and the times? Did you notify the MTA of these?
Yes. So
Okay.
in our yeah, and we'll also include that in our audit. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just put it in right away because we don't want those to sit. If you're saying that they're broken, 2 days ago, I want to know about it right away. Okay, so you
Got it, Mr. Chairman.
put in today the list of those stations and when you visit, and we'll look at the tapes and we'll follow up. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair. That concludes the public comment session.
Okay, thank you to the public commenters. The July committee minutes have been distributed and are available on the website. Are there any changes or comments on the minutes? Hearing none from the members, may I have a motion to approve? Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Dr. Rizzo. All in favor? The minutes are approved. Any changes to the work plan, Mr. Torres Springer?
No changes to the work plan.
Okay, can you proceed with your president's report, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, members of the committee. Just wait for my presentation to load up here. There we go. So let me give you some updates. It's been a very busy couple of months for C&D. On September 3rd, we brought back full service on the G line, which, as you all know, had extended outages over the summer as we pursued a $368 million signal modernization. The Crosstown, the G, is the first line that will fully benefit from the new strategic approach that we've talked about to CBTC, that will use a new generation of technology and will enable us to take real advantage of that technology by replacing the conventional signals as we cut over the system. We also pulled 500,000 feet of cable, including with our partners from Bolden Networks, so that G-Train riders will have full cell coverage throughout their journey in the near future. Another CBTC project that is quietly reaching completion and starting to show benefits is the Culver line, which is the F from West 8th Street in Coney Island to Church Avenue. Last weekend, we completed the cutover of this line so that New York City Transit can begin using automatic train operation. This unlocks the safety and reliability benefits from CBTC, and we expect to see on-time performance gains in the coming months. In August, we opened our 5th new accessible subway station this year, with 37 more in construction and 5 more completions slated before the end of 2024. New elevators for the F, M, and L at 14th and 6th Avenue bring accessibility to another critical high ridership station, which furthers our goal of getting to accessibility for 75% of our riders within the scope of the next capital plan. We also broke ground on ADA accessibility improvements at Classen Avenue on the G, and acknowledge the support of House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Senator Schumer, and our entire federal delegation, along with the FTA, for supporting these many improvements that we're making within the nation's largest mass transit system. Another form of partnership is the one we entered into with Bolden Networks to get us to continuous cell connectivity throughout our 250 miles of subway tunnels over the next few years. Last month, we also celebrated bringing the first whole line onto the network at the 42nd Street Shuttle, and we announced that the next major phase for cellular connectivity will include the G line, the Crosstown, the 4 and 5 under the East River from Borough Hall to Bowling Green, and 5 miles of the 456 from Grand Central to Yankee Stadium. On Friday, and my colleague Rob Free is here with us today, we broke ground on a $125 million full reconstruction of Babylon Station, which is one of our busiest Long Island Railroad stations, an important transfer point for the South Shore of Long Island. This reconstruction will rehabilitate the platform and many other station components, and we're working in staggered phases so we can maintain service, especially during the busy summer months at this station next year. More progress on Park Avenue Viaduct, that critical structure on the Grand Central Artery that carries 98% of Metro North service into and out of Midtown. The 8th bridge replacement weekend of 2024 just finished last night. We replaced a full city block of 2-track viaduct over this weekend with no disruption of service. In total, we've now replaced 3,400 track feet of the viaduct, an area nearly 7 city blocks long. And I would note that this past weekend, we also commenced some work on Phase 2, which the board authorized us to proceed with rapidly this past summer. And it's great that we're getting all that productivity and getting all this work done all at once. The C&D team is proud to be playing a key role in the delivery of the Omni program. The successful rollout of student Omni cards at the beginning of this school year and the increasing presence of 260 Omni vending machines in the system is a product of our efforts over the last year and a half to rebaseline the project schedule and create a more productive delivery model between the project team, Cubic, and New York City Transit. And I would note that we're targeting 500 Omni card vending machines by the end of this year, which enables a whole series of benefits to riders. We are deploying those vending machines in succession, and we are positioned to activate them. Not every vending machine is activated within the system, but of course we ensure that we have sufficient coverage with MetroCard vending machines until we have everything positioned to be activated. Even with all that progress, the focus of the last month was the release of the 2025 to 2029 capital program, which is a $68.4 billion proposed plan for the board's consideration this week that will enable us to continue to run safe and reliable service in light of aging infrastructure, improve the customer experience, and fight the impacts of climate change. I'm not going to give you another full briefing on the 25 to 29 capital program by popular request, but what I do want to say to this committee in oversight of this agency at MTA C&D is that we should highlight how this plan only became possible through the creation and building of C&D and its various departments. We created a dedicated planning department that inventoried and created condition ratings for 6 million assets in the 20-year needs assessment that have helped us to shape the plan and will continue to support the deployment and delivery of the plan in a lot of ways. The development department is the strategic center of the capital plan. When we're asked how we can ramp up our capital program over the next 5 years, especially with the resumption of the remainder of this plan, the answer is bundling. Work that the development group does to take advantage of system outages to get work done efficiently and reduce the cost of overhead from having too many contracts. That has helped us, as you see on the left, to vastly reduce our number of ADA station contracts in the plan and gain delivery efficiency. So just to be clear about this, in the past, we've been issuing one contract basically for every station where we were getting work done. In this current plan, 12 contracts will enable us to get 52 stations done. That means taking better advantage of economies of geography where we're working, but better advantage of economies of scale. You can just imagine we don't need to be paying overhead to 15 or 52 different contractors. We're only covering that for 12 contractors. It's a lot more efficient. What we have coming up in the future will be a turbocharging of bundling as we're creating discrete system segments where we'll combine station, track, power, and structure investments. One example is the Metro North Harlem line. We've talked about this section of the line. We have 7 hollow core platforms that are in desperate need of upgrading and replacement, but we're looking at bundling critical work on or between 8 stations to get the work done most efficiently. So that's the really key to getting through development, how we package the plan. Then our contracts department is enabling us to achieve record commitments and will continue to do so. And we're getting good bids from contractors because of our updated terms and conditions, our streamlined specifications, and just generally being a much more professional organization for contractors to deal with. And they're choosing to do so. And delivery is bringing projects in better and faster, cheaper. We've talked about these successes on large-scale critical projects. Also, we'll show you more in the upcoming months. 90% of projects in the 2020 to 2024 plan so far are on budget, which is a big accomplishment. And lastly, we have an operations and corporate performance department. Those departments are ensuring that we grow our organization and are ready not just to deliver this coming plan, but many plans into the future. So that's the summary of the report for today. We feel very proud of the work that we've done across our agency and in collaboration with the operating agencies to get us to this next plan, and look forward to the board's consideration of the plan on Wednesday. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I just want to underscore because I was there. Jamie's done such a great job, but I was there when we consolidated the C&D out of the 5 different, I think there were 5 different MTA construction organizations separately by agency. And the idea of doing, that the most important currency we have is an outage, shutting down a railroad. If you're shutting down a railroad, you better do every piece of work you can associated that is facilitated by a shutdown. So that is the core principle, and Jamie, in broader terms, talks about economies of geography. That's the real economy of geography, which is if you got stations or anything along a line that needs a shutdown, you better be working on the track, on the embankment, on the station, on the systems, everything you can while you're doing that outage, and that's what Jamie has organized and continued to grow and make more coordinated in the last couple of years. So I'm very impressed with that. And The 90% on time, okay, you know, we took some, not 90% on budget. We took the usual hits from some press outlets that refuse to recognize that this is an MTA that's delivering not just the big projects, but all the projects, much more on budget and on schedule than in the past. So I'm asking the board and everyone who works so closely with us, including some folks who are in the audience, to continue to you know, send the message around that this is, you know, we can ask for a capital program with confidence because we know we can get it done on time and on budget. So with that, I'll take comments from, starting with Mr. Albert.
Thank you, and thanks, Jamie, for your, again, excellent report. Just a technical question. When you are building the capital plan and you ascertain what vital structures need up to be brought up to date because they are failing, is that done on the basis of need or on the basis of geography, whether something's close to the next one, rather than like there's one that's miles and miles away, but it really is in desperate need as well?
It's a good question, Board, but it will be a combination, and I want to say that it's an ongoing process. We've been through surveys of portions of the system, and we use that to extrapolate and determine how much is in a state of disrepair and we need to invest in. Now we're going to go about the targeting. I mean, clearly, if there's a defect that leaves us in a vulnerable position for service or public safety, we're going to address that defect one way or another. But the more we can take advantage of those economies of scale, we are putting together geographic packages for overcoating. We had a good example in the subway tunnels of the Eastern Parkway work where we did structural work along that section of Eastern Parkway. So we'll do that as well. But we certainly are dealing with the ones that are in the poorest condition in whatever way we need to.
Thank you.
Anybody else want a question, comment, cries of joy? Listen, I just remind all of us, we are obligated to put the capital program out. That's why we're voting on it on Wednesday, to comply with the statutory deadline. We recognize that the legislature is going to have to take action, and that will happen with respect to this capital program in the new legislative session in all probability. And the governor is obviously a leading part of that equation as well. But we're complying with the rules, and I think we've set the table in a way that's very credible. So congrats to C&D. First, Mr. Jones, and then Mr. Zuckerman.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. I remain, it's like one note, concerned about the hit on the expense budget of the debt service as we go ahead. And I'm sure you are as well. I'd hope you keep informing the board as we start to put together the funding pieces of this, that if debt service starts to rise significantly, well above where it's now, it obviously immediately has an impact on the expense budget and limiting our other issues. So I remain concerned.
So I think I can give some partial answer to that, and some of you are aware of this. You saw that in the rollout that we discussed, it was acknowledged that roughly $33 billion of the $68 billion is unfunded at this time.
Right.
But that was premised on the MTA remaining around a 15% operating budget mark. Mm-hmm. So we will watch it closely, but the proposal is that there have to be new sources in order to keep us at that level, and we have made sure everybody understands that asking the MTA to borrow a ton more money obviously puts pressure on the operating budget, which inevitably puts pressure on service and
just as a follow-up,
staffing.
can you give us a status of the Second Avenue subway? I know we gave some money to keep that going. Where does that stand?
Yeah, and I also if I can just follow up, I'll also just note that in the plan that is proposed to the board, there is a specific number for the MTA bonds, which ties to that percentage of the operating budget. So the plan does not go beyond that. Second Avenue subway is under construction. We were, this is a very large program, and we made the determination when we had the pause on congestion pricing that we weren't able to proceed with the entire program despite the fact that it brings in a lot of federal funding because we need to spend our dollars on state of good repair. We were fortunate that the governor's office and the Department of Division of Budget were stepped up and ensured that we had the funds that we need in the short term to continue the early work that we're doing, which is really the excavation and relocation of utilities along 2nd Avenue. That work is happening now. There's excavation going on 2nd Avenue. So we've been able to keep that going. And in the meantime, we're also, there's a lot of procurement, a lot of organizational work to do. There's a lot of work on real estate acquisitions, some of which are easy, some of which require us pursuing litigation. So all of that work is ongoing. That's with the funding that we have available now. And at some point, of course, we need the dollars from congestion pricing or otherwise to be available to support the project.
Thank you. First, David, thanks for that lead-in. In finance, Kevin's going to give a pretty thoughtful assessment of where we are with debt and how it's consistent with historical behaviors. And your point is necessary, and I thank you for bringing it up because we need someone to be a debt hawk. It's important. Secondly, I want to thank you on this plan. I mean, you really did the right focus. I think in years past, we've had a significant focus on new capacity for the system, and obviously some of that was long before any of us here were initiated. The problem when we have new capacity is you've got to run the new capacity and put in operating expenses. So your plan is deeply focused on the right components of repair and improve. And then I guess I'd just say our primary role ultimately is on uses of capital, less on sources. We don't have a lot of levers. Obviously, we have debt we can take on. We can increase fares to try and take on more debt and service that. But ultimately, we don't have a lot of means at our direct disposal. And to do anything less than put together the needs that you put together, given the detailed 20-year assessment, would have been malpractice. You've done exactly the right thing, and you've done it thoughtfully, in great detail, with great transparency. So thank you for that, and I look forward to supporting you on Wednesday.
Mr. Herbst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would, first of all, thank you and compliment you on the great work that's being done here with this proposal. It's all based off of the 20-year needs assessment, which I think was the great foundation to put together this capital program. But I'd like to follow up with Andrew's comments about the projects, putting them together with geographically. There's certainly in bundling projects, there's cost savings, there's efficiency, and that's certainly the way I think you should continue moving. But the one thing, when you talk about geography, you may be doing this, I'm sure you are, and you're sensitive to it, but it's also a jurisdictional issue. Contractors are going to bid on a job. Our labor community is, we have trade agreements, collective bargaining agreements, and some contractors may be reluctant to bid on a project if you're bundling projects in different jurisdictions of that labor group. As an example, the electrical unions may have a boundary where one trade, one local is one area and another. If you bind those projects together, a contractor may step back because they don't want to get involved in that situation. And so you're going to have less bidders and possibly raise costs. So I bring that to your attention as something to consider, and I'm sure you're already doing so, but that's been shared with me in the past. So I just want to bring that to your attention as well.
I just want to acknowledge, because you are an expert in this area. Yes, that's an important point. And also, just to bear in mind, the complexity. Bundling is great until every project is too big, so that you're narrowing the range of competition. So
Absolutely.
Jamie and the team are very much on top of the issue of we need some projects to be big, ultra bundled, and some projects to be medium and small, so that we get other sizes and types of contractors involved. Very good point. Others? Mira Joshi.
Thank you very much. I like the idea of coordination and bundling, and maybe there's a nirvana where you bundle city projects in there too. I can see some extreme efficiencies there and massive complications. I just want to go back to the 2020 to 2024 capital plan. I know 15 billion we're missing congestion pricing. There is some other revenue sources that we haven't, I think, fully exhausted. Can you just walk us through? I know most of the city and federal dollars have come through, but
Sure. and I can't help but say, in response to the first point, that we are having that discussion. And in fact, we do it. We do work for the city already. We do a lot of utility relocations, and we're getting more and more creative about how we make improvements at the same time. So we're excited about that. What's that? So the 20 to 24 plan, I'd go back to the presentation we made to this committee in July. We have, so also there's an important distinction, which I think there was a little bit of confusion about in certain media outlets over the weekend. There's a distinction between contracts that are awarded and funds that are committed, which is what we pay the most attention to, because after that, it's just a matter of us, not just, but it's a matter of our delivery operation keeping the projects on schedule, and the payments are drawn down. We have committed $27 billion of the $55 billion 20 to 24 capital plan, which leaves us with $28 billion. 16 of that is connected to the funds that were intended to come from congestion pricing, which is the $15 billion plus some of the federal dollars from Second Avenue Subway. What remains is $12 billion. And we are, after the presentation we made in July, we've sort of turned over the whole operation of C&D to getting those projects designed, completed, out the door, and awarded. That's what my colleagues are, spend their time doing. We are going to get very close to having all of that out the door in competition before the end of the year. Not quite all of it. A little bit of it will overlap into next year, just because we weren't at that earlier time preparing to get all of that out the door. But that's the trajectory that we're on, and we're really focused on state of good repair on those projects.
I just remind all of us, because it sometimes gets overlooked, we lost 18 months to 2 years of being able to award contracts off of the new capital program to the pandemic, when we did not know if we were going to have to use capital, cannibalize capital, just to keep the system alive and running. So, yes, we will end the 2024, the technical end of the current MTA capital program with some projects yet unobligated. But some of that is the congestion pricing issue, but also there's a fair amount of delay, in effect, due to time lost to the pandemic. But we're catching up fast, and that's why everyone's confident we can absorb both the current projects and also the next program. Thank you, Jamie. I'm a C&D enthusiast, so I love the reminder of just how well this incredible consolidation has worked so far. Quarterly traffic light report from our friends at the IEC.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Suresh Payeti, Program Director of the IEC. This month, the IEC is not presenting detailed monitoring of any business unit. However, I will be reporting on the latest quarterly traffic light report, TLR, which is located in your committee books beginning on page 11. In the second quarter 2024, the IEC reviewed a total of 275 projects, 14 in design and 261 in construction. Of the 275 total projects, 13 triggered a variance, 11 for schedule, and 2 for cost. In addition, 12 of the projects are in construction and 1 in design. For every project with a variance, C&D prepared a brief project summary, which the IEC reviewed and worked with the project teams and business units in preparation of the final reports included with this month's TLR. The 13 projects which experienced variances this quarter were impacted by challenging issues seen across all business units, including unforeseen field conditions, change orders, the lack of project support and resources, coordination priorities, which required diverting resources to other projects, scope modification, limitations on track access, and poor contractor performance. The IEC notes that this quarter, 95% of the projects reviewed in the TLR did not trigger a schedule variance, and 99% of the projects did not trigger a budget variance. This concludes our update on the latest TLR results.
Okay. Reassuring to know those numbers, so thank you. Thank you to the IEC. Procurement, Ms. Boudoir.
Thank you. Construction and Development is presenting 3 procurement actions totaling $9.6 million to the Capital Program Committee for approval this month. The first item is a modification that will increase repair unit quantities and provide for a 7-month extension of a contract to provide as-needed roadway repairs for MTA bridges and tunnels. The other 2 items are both ratifications. One of a modification to furnish and install additional roofing components on Metro North Communications node houses, and the other to provide for continued maintenance of elevators and escalators at Grand Central Madison until the long-term maintenance contractor was mobilized. These items are described in detail in the staff summaries contained within your committee books, and I hereby submit them for your consideration and vote.
Any questions or comments about the procurement items? May I have a motion? Mr. Chu, second. Mr. Jones, all in favor? The items carry. I think that concludes the agenda. Any other business anyone wishes to discuss? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Chu. Thank you, Ms. Lopez. We are adjourned.